Okay, came along two interesting articles after having a little Facebook debate or fight or rather thrashing. Um, it came down to the point where they ended up blocking me because even though people were attacking me and throwing ad homs and stuff, because I didn't just sit there and take it, and rather I stood up for myself. Apparently, they thought that I was off topic. I showed where how the topic changed, but I was off topic, and the people that were attacking me and doing all that other stuff apparently were not. Anyway, two interesting articles that I found. Well, one is just a small thing, and then it links to something else, but I'm actually going to read this off because this is actually very interesting. This one comes from, and I'll have links obviously, PJ Media from Dr. Helen Smith, uh, who also wrote a book which I'm going to link to. The book hasn't been out, hasn't been published yet, but I'm going to order it. I'm also going to order a few other books as well. Anyway, uh, modern women want to get married. Trouble is, men don't. Okay, in a Pew study, um, don't have a link, fewer men want to marry via New Starlet. Okay, the battle of the sexes is alive and well. According to Pew Research Center, the share of women ages 18 to 34 that say having a successful marriage is one of the most important things in their lives rose 9% percentage points since 1997, from 28% to 37%. For men, the opposite occurred. The share voicing this opinion dropped from 35% to 29%. Believe it or not, modern women want to get married. Trouble is, men don't. Really? Who knew? And the who knew is linked to her book. I'm actually going to read uh, a few comments from some users, and then I'm going to get on into the main article of which she linked to. This one comes from Tatereel. Tatereel. Modern women act too much like men. Believe it or not, real men don't want to marry a woman who acts like that. Now, if she wants to be hooked up with, now if she wants to be hooked up with a beta servant or the government, she can enjoy the unhappiness that brings. Second one, I'm just going to read off a few of them. I'm not going to go down the whole list of them. Let's see. Two, TMG. From TMG. I also suspect that many of these women have very inflated perceptions of their own value and the kind of men they quote unquote deserve. Unfortunately, there's only so many guitar playing hedge fund managers and husky ex con bikers with tattoos and a trust fund to go around. In a reply to him, Skelling Monk, you are exactly right. Many women do want marriage, but to the same but to the same small percentage of high achieving, high status, high salaried alpha males at the top of the socioeconomic food chain. When they say there are quote unquote no good men left, quote no good men left unquote, they mean they think it's quote unquote unfair that they don't have access to these high achievers. They often fail to conceive that this may very well be for a good reason. The thought of marrying some good man in the middle seems altogether repulsive to them. If they do marry the poor schlub, he will likely be punished for his transgressions against her higher, more exalted nature. Sure, I'd love to marry a woman that looks like a supermodel. This kind of it's kind, patient, and a supermodel is kind, patient, and gentle like a saint and thinks like a philosopher, but how likely is that? Ultimately, much of what this has to do with is the fact that women's studies style feminism is a war on reality. I wonder who will win. TMG replied, quote unquote, good men equals affluent, handsome, and ready to marry. Uh, I'm actually going to keep reading until I get to one specific point and then I'm going to stop. Number three comes from Coop. Plenty of men would love to be married, but not to a quote unquote modern woman. If they could only find a woman who held herself to a higher moral standard and could be trusted over the long haul. But as we are constantly reminded, that society went away with our grandparents. Actually, that was exactly the one that I was gonna stop at. I didn't realize I was about to read it. Uh, but as we are constantly reminded, that society went away with our grandparents. All right, let's get on to the main article. The War on Men by Susan Venker. Obviously, link. The Battle of the Sexes is alive and well. Okay, I already read all that, but just for consistency. The Battle of the Sexes is alive and well. According to a Pew Research Center, the share of women ages 18 to 34 that say having a successful marriage is one of the most important things in their lives rose 9 percentage points since 1997, from 28 to 37%. For men, the opposite occurred. The share voicing this opinion dropped from 35% to 29%. Believe it or not, modern women want to get married. Trouble is, men don't. The so-called death of good men, quote, parentheses, read marriageable men. I don't know where that one is. Maybe I can find it somewhere. Anyway, has been a hot topic, a hot subject in the media as of late. Much of the coverage has been in response to the fact that for the first time in history, women have become the majority of the U.S. workforce. They're also the most. They're also getting most of the college degrees. The problem? This new phenomenon has changed the dance between men and women. As the author of 3 books on the American family and its intersection with pop culture, I've spent 13 years examining social agendas and as they pertain to sex, parenting, and gender roles. During this time, I've spoken with hundreds, if not thousands, of men and women, and in doing so, I've accidentally stumbled upon a subculture of men who've told me, in no uncertain terms, that they're never getting married. When I ask them why, the answer is always the same: women aren't women anymore. To say gender relations have changed dramatically is an understatement. Ever since the sexual revolution, there has been a profound overhaul in the way men and women interact. Men haven't changed much, they've had no revolution that demanded it, but women have changed dramatically. In a nutshell, women are angry. They're also defensive, though often unknowingly. That's because they've been raised to think of men as the enemy. Armed with this new attitude, women pushed men off their pedestal. Women had their own pedestal, but feminists convinced them otherwise, and climbed up to take what they thought to believe right, what they were taught to believe was rightfully theirs. Now the men have nowhere to go. It's precisely this dynamic, women good, men bad, that has destroyed the relationship between the sexes, yet somehow men are still to blame when love goes away. Heck, men have been to blame since feminists first took the streets in the 70s. But what if the death of good men and ongoing battle of the sexes is, hold on to your seats, women's fault? Imagine that, huh? You'll never hear that in the media. Of course you won't. All the articles and books and television programs, for that matter, put women front and center while men and children sit in the back seats. But after decades of browbeating the American male, men are tired. Tired of being told there's something fundamentally wrong with them. Tired of being told that if women aren't happy, it's men's fault. Contrary to what feminists like Hannah Rosen, author of The End of Men, say the so-called rise of women has not threatened men. It has pissed them off. It has undermined their ability to become self-sufficient in the hopes of someday supporting a family. Men want to love women, not compete with them. They want to provide and protect for their families. It's in their DNA, unfortunately. But modern women won't let them. It's also unfortunate for women, not men. Feminism serves men. It's also unfortunate for women, not men. Feminism serves men very well. They can have sex at hello, and even live with their girlfriends with no responsibilities whatsoever. Um, okay, stop 1 second. Whether that's true or not, okay, but I'd rather not be able to do that and not have to deal with all the negatives that feminism has brought than one supposed plus side of, oh, you get to have sex at hello, and God knows if you're accused of rape later because she's like, you know what, I didn't quite like it, and since I don't like it, I didn't want it, and since I don't want it, it's rape. I'd rather not. Uh, anyway, back to the article. Uh, it's the women who lose. Not only are they saddled with the consequences of sex by dismissing male nature, they're forever seeking no, by dismissing male nature, they're forever seeking a balanced life. The fact is, women need men's linear career goals. They need men to pick up the slack at the office in order to live the balanced life they seek. So if men today are slackers, and if they're treating, and if they're threatening from, and if they're retreating from marriages en masse, women should look in the mirror and ask themselves what role they've played to bring about this transformation. Fortunately, there is good news. Women have the power to turn everything around. All they have to do is surrender to their nature, their femininity, and let men surrender to theirs. If they do, marriageable men will come out of the woodwork. Interesting. Um, And I don't know, the footnote Susan Venker has written extensively about politics, parenting, and the influence of feminism on American society. Her latest book, How to Choose a Husband and Make Peace with Marriage, will be published in February 2013. Um, hey, what's there to say? Leave your comments, leave your video responses.